Hi folks, this is Benny once again with the 94th Aeroclaims Aviation Consulting Group. Here we are today standing on hollow ground at Fort Greene Park in Brooklyn, New York. This is the site of the Martyrs of the prison ships of the U.S. Revolutionary War. This monument right here marks the remains that lay of over 11,000 Americans that fought and died for the freedom of this country and who endured horrible conditions aboard British prison ships. This particular monument pays tribute and is the first monument in our nation to our prisoners of war. We're honored to be here today and to remember those 11,000 Americans back in 1776 and the years afterwards that endured, gave their lives and fought for the freedom that we have today. I have the pleasure today, folks, to give you a quick tour of this monument located in Fort Greene Park. A little bit of history. Right here on this ground, at the forum at the start of our country, George Washington stood, fought, and held the British at bay enough for him to vacate, regroup, and carry the war. This was originally known as Fort Putnam. As you can see from here, it's the high ground. Right over there, you could barely make out, but you could see one of the towers of the Manhattan Bridge. This land had an overview of the East River and New York Bay over there where the British ships were anchored. What I'm going to show you is a monument that was created to house the remains of the many U.S. citizens who were revolutionary fighters for the form of our country. It's a bit windy here today, temperature about 29 degrees. And you'll say, well, Benny, you have better things to do to be home with a warm cup of cocoa? Well, I say no. This is an honor for me to be here on this ground for those who gave their lives for the form of our country. As you can see, folks, this granite monument stands 149 feet tall. It marks the crypt where the remains of American citizens, sailors and soldiers are housed. We're going to approach the headstone here, which you can read clearly, which states 1776, the Prison Ships Martyrs Monument. Now this monument, folks, was erected in 1908, and below it, below this whole area, is the crypt where the remains of many Americans are entombed. Much like the battleship Arizona, this is a very solemn ground in terms of history, but one that's very rarely known. Fort Putnam, now known as Fort Greene, was a revolutionary site, and we're going to just walk around here and show you the plaque and that kind of encapsulate what we're sharing with you today. Now the plaque right here reads, in memory of 11,500 patriotic American sailors and soldiers who endured untold suffering and died on the British prison ships anchored in Wallabout Bay during the Revolutionary War from 1776 to 1782. Their remains lie buried in the crypt at the base of this monument, which was dedicated on November 14th, 1908. Once again, folks, to us Americans and to those who have served and fought this country, this is a solemn place, but one that's not very known. If you ever had the chance to come into New York City as an American and as a patriot, you may want to think of visiting this site and just realize that below this ground, people gave their lives so we have the freedom that we have today. As our videos are mostly technical and informative with aviation, we rarely get into subjects like this, but this is something that's dear and near to our hearts as an organization and as individuals. So once again, folks, this is Benny at the foot of the memorial of the Martyrs of the British ships here in Brooklyn, New York. Goodbye.